God! 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 God!
His friend took him in when he had nowhere else to go, gave him a roof, pushed him to chase his music career, treated him like family. He repaid that kindness by killing him and his cousin inside that same apartment. Then he left their bodies there for 24 hours, while neighbors who heard everything did nothing. And when he finally walked back into that parking lot, he moved like no court could ever touch him. In Wisconsin, another man drove straight through a parade filled with families and grandmothers, then calmly knocked on a stranger's door asking for a sandwich.
It is unfair, and it's disrespectful to me that you think I would come in here purposely and treat this like a joke or a game.
I never said it was a joke.
What type of statement is that?
Neither of them thought justice was coming. They were both wrong. This case is on record, confirmed through Daytona Beach Police Department reports, Volusia County Court documents, and verified coverage from the Orlando Sentinel and the Daytona Beach News Journal. On the night of December 6th, 2018, two 19-year-old cousins were found dead inside apartment 434 at the Jade Park Apartments in Daytona Beach, Florida. Their bodies weren't discovered until the following evening, nearly 24 hours later. Not because the evidence was hard to find, but because nobody looked. Multiple neighbors later confirmed they heard gunshots that night. Not one of them called 911. Not one.
There's been a lot of shootings, though.
Shootings in the complex or just around the area?
Around the area. I just know, I know it's two young college students that was in that house that got murdered. And it hurt me, man. I seen his family out here crying, which is I had tears too. You know, it was very tragic.
So the question isn't just who did this. It's why nobody thought two young men's lives were worth a single phone call. December 6th, 2018, apartment 434, Jade Park Apartments, Daytona Beach, Florida. That was Trey Ingram's home, and Trey had voluntarily let Damon Kemp stay there, not because he had to, but because Kemp had nowhere else to go. Trey's own sister confirmed it to police. Her brother opened that door simply to help him out.
Day-Day, why would you do that to Trey? Day-Day, I fed you. Trey fed you. He let you live in his house rent-free. Why would you do that to Trey, Day-Day?
I'm gonna have to ask you.
Day-Day, you wrong. Day-Day, you Day-Day.
I'm gonna have to ask you to leave me.
Day-Day, wrong.
Trey was also helping his cousin, Jordan Patton, get back on his feet. Both of them under the same roof. Both of them gone before morning. Kemp killed them both inside that apartment. Their bodies were found near the door, positioned as if they had been trying to get out. Nobody came for them that night. Nobody came the next morning. It wasn't until nearly 24 hours later, when detectives investigating a completely separate armed burglary at the same complex traced an address back to apartment 434, that anyone pushed that door open. A body was blocking it from the inside.
This is the Daytona Beach Police Department. We're going to come in. We're coming in now. Please open the door. Go. Get the body. Body.
But here's what makes this even harder to process. While Trey and Jordan were still inside that apartment, Kemp was roaming the same complex. Same building, same parking lot, acting erratically, talking incoherently, making no attempt to disappear. When officers encountered him, he wasn't running, he wasn't hiding. And when they detained him, he looked at a Daytona Beach officer and said, on body camera, "I killed my friend."
Hey, listen. Stop. Hey. Watch out, watch your gun. Get on the ground. What you got? Hey. Hey, where you going? Hey, man. Hey. Where you going?
Is there another one?
Hey, where you going? Chill out. Where you going?
What's he got in his hand?
I got somewhere to go, you dig? I got somewhere to
Look at him. Turn around.
Hey, bitch.
Turn around.
Hey. I got you. And that's it. Hey, you gotta die. Hey.
Curtis, go over there.
What is your name?
Get him.
What is your name? it right now, bitch. I got him. I love everyone. I love you, Mom. I love you, daughter. Take everything to my dad. But he's Damon Kemp Jr. I love you. Lord Jesus, I love you. Amen. Africa. We gotta separate. We gotta love each other. We gotta unite. Everything. Everything I love is 06. I love you, Atlanta. Everybody, black people, I will always love you. And matter of fact, take these handcuffs off me too while you playing. We gotta go right now. Take these handcuffs off me right now. I'm not fucking playing. I love you. I gotta go somewhere. We up now. School, bitch.
What's up? What are you
Amen. God, thank you. We up. I gotta go. Excuse me. Take these off, please. Take these off, please. Stop moving, yo. Stop, please. Stop, please. Please, I said stop. I see you too. I said stop. Let's get it. I love you. I am you. I believe in myself, and we can do this shit. What's the matter with you, bro? Hey, look. I see all y'all motherfuckers too.
Hey, man. What's your name? What's your name? What's your name, bro?
Hey, man.
What's your name?
Damon Kemp Jr.
Where you
I
from?
love you. And just dad.
Hey,
Remember,
what's your first name, man?
I gotta come to you right now.
What's your first name?
Damon.
Damon? Where you from, Damon?
I don't know.
Damon, how you spell your first name, Damon?
D-A-M-O-N.
D-A-M-O-N? First
Yes,
name?
sir.
What's your middle name, Damon?
I don't have one.
Okay, what's your last name?
K-E-M-P.
Alright. Damon Kemp, what's your date of birth?
12/13/1998.
What you doing over there, man?
To be honest, I just came. I was gonna swim with my friend, the ace. His name is Trey Ingraham.
Okay.
I shot him. Damon Kemp.
Your friend out here with you?
Did you see him?
I don't know, man. I pulled up. You
No,
approaching the
shut up.
officer,
Stop
man.
talking.
Shut up. Hey, listen, you lucky right now because you almost had a bullet hole put in you. I saved you, so if I was you, I'd stop talking to me any kind of way, alright? I'm just trying to figure out what you're doing out here.
We're not for name, did right?
What are you doing? Stop.
Don't touch me.
Nobody
Last name Kemp, Kilo Echo, Michael Papa. First name Damon. Delta Alpha, Michael, Oscar, November. No middle initial. Dead birth 12/13/98. Your name right now.
Officer Ravi, R-A-V-I.
Say one more time louder.
Ravi, R-A-V-I.
R-A-V-I.
That's it.
That's it?
That's it.
There we go.
4-6.
Right now.
Out of Florida, you just out of Florida,
White
right?
and black. Africa
10-4.
must separate. We're going
Damon
to
Kemp
Africa.
is a negative no right
Right?
now. Does he have a middle initial?
Nah.
What's your name? Did we ask you that yet?
Stand by.
Damon.
Hey, you have a license out of Florida?
No.
Out of where?
Boston, Massachusetts.
4-6 Central. We run out of that in Massachusetts.
Come through that canal over there.
Is that where you all wet?
No.
Why you all wet?
Came right there.
Swimming pool?
What's your name, sir?
Simple as that.
No, you're not getting up, bud. You ain't getting up.
Let me go, sir.
No, you ain't getting up. You're
What's your
gonna
name,
sit right
sir?
there, Officer Martin. You ain't getting up.
Good job. What's your name?
I said you ain't getting up.
Say it one more time.
I'm not gonna tell you again.
Huh? Nah.
I'm not gonna tell you again. You're not getting up. You're gonna stay right there on the ground until I'm ready to let you get up.
You heard that? Nah. Wait, let me see you again. Is that
Hey man, you live in Daytona?
Hell nah, nigga.
No. Why, you don't like Daytona?
It's not even that simple, bro. You just gotta stay ducked off. Psych, bitch. Where the fuck is you going?
Back to 3 Delta 46. How you reading?
Nowhere.
Careful.
I did a person
Put him in there.
he was involved in a traffic stop call back in.
I want you.
A separate resident in the complex had already overheard him outside their door. on a phone call, openly saying he had killed 2 people. He wasn't trying to cover it up. He just didn't think it mattered. When police pushed through that door, they didn't just find 2 bodies. They found a crime scene that told a complete story. Shell casings on the floor, a Glock pistol recovered in a grassy area near Building 3 of the complex. Ballistics testing confirmed it. The gun was tied directly to the crime scene, linking Kemp to both victims in a way no defense could easily walk back. And then there was the body camera footage. His own words, caught on tape. On top of that, prosecutors later revealed at sentencing that Kemp had attempted to cover his tracks, including jumping into a pond, before police ever connected him to that apartment. So let's be clear about where things stood. A confession on camera, a weapon recovered at the scene, forensic evidence, and a witness who heard him admit it over the phone. The case against Damon Kemp wasn't built on speculation. It was airtight from the jump. And yet, when he walked into that courtroom, he didn't look like a man facing the consequences of what he'd done. What happened in that courtroom next is something you need to see for yourself. December 9th, 2018, 2 days after the bodies were found, Damon Kemp's first court appearance. He was wheeled into the courtroom in a wheelchair, and the moment he entered, he started screaming. Not crying, not breaking down. Screaming. Over and over, his voice bouncing off the walls of a room where the families of his victims were also sitting, waiting, grieving, and forced to watch this. Those families broke down. The contrast in that room was suffocating. People who had just lost their sons on one side, and the man accused of taking them on the other, performing like the courtroom was a stage built for him. According to WFTV, the outburst immediately sparked public debate. Was this real, or was it calculated? Was Kemp trying to set up an insanity defense before the case even got started? Was this the move of a man who had already decided he wasn't going to play by the rules? The judge didn't wait around to find out. Probable cause was found on both murder counts. Bond was denied. Kemp was placed in Volusia County Branch Jail with no path to release. His outburst hadn't helped him. If anything, it put a spotlight on exactly who he was. A man who believed that if he created enough noise, enough chaos, enough confusion, the truth wouldn't be able to catch up to him. It was catching up, faster than he knew. May 2023, nearly 5 years after the murders, Damon Kemp's trial finally began, and his defense team came in with a strategy that even the presiding judge, Judge Leah Case, described as unusual. They argued simultaneously that Kemp did not commit the murders, and that if he did, he was legally insane at the time. Both. At the same time, 2 completely opposite defenses running side by side. Think about that for a second. Either he didn't do it, or he did it but wasn't in control of himself. His own attorneys couldn't pick one, so they argued both and hoped the jury would land somewhere in the middle. They didn't. The jury heard the ballistics. They heard the body camera admission. They reviewed the forensic evidence and the witness accounts. And when it was all laid out in front of them, they rejected both defenses completely. Damon Kemp was found guilty on all 3 counts. 2 counts of second-degree murder with a firearm, and 1 count of armed burglary of an occupied dwelling with assault or battery.
You are charged with 2 counts of second-degree felony murder. I have reviewed the arrest report. I do believe that there is probable cause for the arrest. And under these circumstances, I am not able to grant you bond or any form of pretrial release. So you're to be held at the Volusia County Jail.
When the verdict was read, Kemp showed no visible reaction, no emotion, just stillness. The same stillness that had been mistaken for confidence for 5 years. But sentencing was still coming. And what he chose to say when he finally had the floor, after 5 years of silence, is the part of this story that will stay with you. What are your thoughts on this story? Drop them in the comments below. Tell me what you think a man like this deserves when he can't even look a grieving mother in the eye after taking her son. August 29th, 2023, Sentencing Day. Damon Kemp chose to speak on his own behalf. And what he said left that entire courtroom stunned. He described himself as a strong individual for enduring the trial, as if surviving a court case he brought on himself was something worth celebrating. He framed the entire proceeding like he was the one who had suffered, referencing Trey as a close friend who had passed away, like it was an accident, like grief was something they were sharing equally. He told the court there was no direct or physical evidence against him. This, after ballistics, body camera footage, forensic analysis, and witness accounts had already been presented to a jury and accepted as fact. He asked the court to show leniency when judging him as a person. And then he said, in his own words, "Sad to say, I never thought I would be convicted of this." When the prosecutor asked him directly whether he was denying that he killed Trey and Jordan, Kemp consulted his attorney and responded, "Those words never came out of my mouth." Pressed again, he said he was not admitting or denying anything. 5 years. Narissa Carter Young sat in that courtroom for 5 years waiting for him to say her son's name. He never said it.
When a young man that committed this crime, or they say committed this crime, all of them only 19. All of them just babies. Don't be self-destructive. If anything, just go out and do something else nice for somebody else in Trey's name. How about that? That's what you do.
Judge Leah Case had heard enough. Her response was direct. "So we know Mr. Kemp committed cold-blooded murder and burglary. We know he did it." She found no credible evidence of insanity, no evidence of a traumatic brain injury. And then she handed down the sentence. 3 consecutive life prison terms, not concurrent. Consecutive. He must serve each one in full before the next begins. The defense had requested just over 41 years. The judge sided with the families. If Damon Kemp's story left you sitting there feeling something you don't even have words for, you're not ready for what comes next. Because the next man didn't target someone who trusted him. He targeted complete strangers, families, grandmothers, people who woke up that morning with nothing on their minds but being together. And when they put him in a courtroom to answer for every single one of them, he laughed until the judge started to cry. This case is confirmed, documented through Waukesha Police Department records, Wisconsin court filings, and covered by every major national outlet from CNN to the Associated Press. November 21st, 2021, Waukesha, Wisconsin. The 58th annual Waukesha Parade was live-streamed and watched by thousands of families who had lined the streets of downtown Waukesha. The theme that year was comfort and joy. At 4:39 p.m., a red 2010 Ford Escape drove past police barricades and into the crowd. Officers on the scene reported the driver was moving in a deliberate zigzag pattern through the densest parts of the crowd. One officer banged on the hood of the SUV with his hand. Another fired his weapon trying to stop it. The vehicle did not stop. 6 people were killed. Jackson Sparks, 8 years old, was marching with his youth baseball team. He did not make it home. Tamara Durand, 52. Jane Coolidge, 52. Wilhelm Hospel, 81. Leanna Owen, 71. Virginia Sorensen, 79. 4 of the adult victims were members of the Milwaukee Dancing Grannies, a beloved community group made up entirely of grandmothers who had spent years showing up just to bring people joy. 62 others were injured. Jackson's younger brother Tucker was also struck. Their family came within inches of losing both boys. And the man behind the wheel? He didn't flee the state. He didn't go into hiding. Darrell Brooks Jr. drove away from the scene, abandoned the SUV a few blocks away, walked up to a stranger's front door and told them he was homeless and needed to use a phone. The homeowner, who had no idea what had just happened on those streets, let him in, gave him food, lent him a jacket. Police arrived and took Brooks into custody right there. He had just taken 6 lives, and he sat down for a sandwich. The attack was live-streamed as it happened. Multiple cell phone videos were uploaded to social media within minutes. Eyewitnesses described the driver as calm and composed through the entire thing. No panic, no hesitation. A damaged Ford Escape was recovered at the scene that same evening. Surveillance footage, video evidence, and dozens of eyewitnesses all told the exact same story. And then there was Brooks himself, sitting in a stranger's home a few blocks away, wearing a jacket that didn't belong to him.
Hey, can I... My ID!
Police also investigated whether he had been fleeing a separate domestic incident in the moments before the attack. The answer was yes. He had been involved in a domestic disturbance nearby and left before officers arrived. But he was not being chased when he drove into that crowd. There was no pursuit, no emergency, nothing that explained what he did. 76 charges were filed against Darrell Brooks Jr., 6 counts of first-degree intentional homicide, 61 counts of recklessly endangering safety, 6 counts of hit-and-run causing death, 2 counts of bail jumping, 1 count of misdemeanor battery. So what exactly was he planning to argue? Brooks had originally pleaded not guilty by reason of mental disease. Then, in September 2022, he withdrew that plea, fired his public defenders, and decided to represent himself.
I would like to represent myself pro per.
So if you are allowed to represent yourself in this case, sir, you will not have attorneys assisting you. If I let them withdraw, they are gone from this case. Do you understand that?
His own mother wrote to Judge Jennifer Dorow, in writing, saying her son was not stable mentally enough to do so. He did it anyway. What followed was one of the most chaotic trials in Wisconsin history. Brooks refused to answer to his own name in court, arguing the legal system had no authority to use it against him. He declared himself a sovereign citizen, claiming U.S. laws simply did not apply to him. He interrupted Judge Dorow mid-sentence, sometimes multiple times in a single exchange. He was eventually moved to a separate courtroom and allowed to participate via video monitor, where he could be muted when things got out of hand.
I don't care about the inevitable. It was already written from day one what was going to happen. It doesn't make me lose any sleep.
You need to stop right now or you will be removed.
Remove me then. You want to come check the boxes yourself? It's not no game. That's what you don't seem to understand.
Mr. Brooks.
And Miss Judge,
I'm going to stand my ground on this.
I'm going to stand my ground too. And it's disrespectful to me that you think I would come in here purposely and treat this like a joke or a game. With 5 kids that don't have custody.
You need to stop right now or you will be removed.
Remove me then.
All right, he will be removed. He cannot simply stay quiet when this court talks.
Anyway, I don't consent to this.
He removed his shirt and sat bare-chested at the defense table. He stuffed a sign given to him for objections down his pants and used it while shirtless. He built a wall of legal document boxes around himself so cameras couldn't capture his face. He hid behind a Bible during witness testimony. Judge Darrell described the case as the most challenging of her entire career. And through all of it, every disruption, every outburst, every attempt to turn her courtroom into a circus, she held herself together. Even when Brooks looked at her directly and said, "Your life is not on the line. Mine is."
Your life is not on the line. Mine is. And you think that I think this is funny?
I don't think it's funny whatsoever.
Even when he accused her of running an unfair game, she held it together. The jury never wavered either. And when they finally spoke, they didn't need long to say it. October 26th, 2022. After less than 3 hours of deliberation, the jury came back, guilty, on all 76 counts. As the verdicts were read, count after count after count, Brooks looked down at his lap and rested his forehead on his folded hands. The same man who had spent weeks performing for that courtroom, shouting, objecting, building walls out of paper boxes, sat completely still. The live stream footage had spoken. The eyewitness accounts had spoken. The dozens of survivors who pointed at him as the man behind the wheel had spoken. And 3 hours was all it took for 12 people to agree on every single one of those 76 counts. Not one acquittal, not one hung count, all 76. But the verdict was only half of it. Sentencing was still coming.
This court is imposing a life sentence without the possibility or eligibility for extended supervision consecutive to one another.
And what happened over those 2 days in November 2022? 45 survivors stepping forward one by one, Brooks rolling his eyes while they spoke, and a judge who held herself together until she simply couldn't anymore. That's the part that broke the internet. November 15th, 2022, day 1 of sentencing. 45 survivors and family members took the stand. One by one, they walked up to that microphone and described what Darrell Brooks had taken from them. Their mothers, their grandmothers, their children, their sense of safety, their ability to ever feel normal again.
November 21st, you killed my mother. And in this courtroom, I watched you run her down and her broken body slide across the concrete. This woman loved and she was loved. You ran her down like she was nothing. And since that day, you have shown no remorse. You've offered no explanation for your atrocities. It offends me that you're sitting here breathing while she is not. You are a monster. You deserve contempt and death. Sadly, with no death penalty in this state, I can only hope they lock you away someplace so deep the rats chew on your fingers at night. As for me, this will never be over until the day I'm pissing on your grave. I think it would be fair to say that for your crimes, even God hates you.
And through all of it, Brooks flipped through a book, rolled his eyes, showed nothing. Chris Owens, whose mother was killed in the attack, addressed Brooks directly from that stand and said, "Mr. Brooks, I hope that as I read my statement, you continue to roll your eyes. I hope you continue to laugh and just show how bored and unmoved you are by all of this, because I think that's important. It is important for the world to see what human rot looks like."
And Mr. Brooks, I hope as I read my statement, you continue to roll your eyes. I hope you continue to laugh and just show how bored and unmoved you are by all of this, because I think that's important. It's important for the world to see that evil can be a tangible, living, breathing thing. I think it's important for the world to see what human rot looks like. And to all the survivors, every time he puts his hand on that empty cavity where his heart should be, I hope you all smile, and I hope you take solace in the fact that today is our day. Today is for us. Today is so we can take our handful of dirt, throw it on his grave, and move on. Because that's what we all need, and that's what we deserve. My name is Chris Owen, and I am the plaintiff. I'm here on behalf of another plaintiff, my mother, Leanna Joy Owen. Lee Owen was a mother, a grandmother, a best friend, an apartment manager, and a dancing granny. The reason none of the witnesses saw her in this courtroom is because she was executed by a child-killing sex offender. And we are both injured parties. My whole family is an injured party. To my kids, Lee Owen was nanny. and Nanny spoiled her grandkids every chance she got. On every birthday, she would call and sing happy birthday to their voicemail so they could hear it the first thing in the morning. She went on a tour of my son's summer camp. She danced in the same parades as my youngest daughter. She wanted my oldest daughter to use her car to learn how to drive so she could teach her like she taught me. And all of that has been ripped away. But the defendant's conscience is clear. To my dad, Lee Owen was the love of his life. They met when she was 16, and he taught her how to drive. From that point on, they stayed in each other's lives. And even though they divorced, she was still his best friend. They spent a lot of time together, and she was the only one who could get him out of the house. Now my dad has nightmares of her body flying through the air and shattering against concrete. But Mr. Brooks' conscience is clear. To my brother and I, Lee Owen was our mother. A mother who, even when she was struggling, was always there for us. She was supportive of us. She always told us how proud she was of us. Growing up, all my friends and my brother's friends knew they were welcomed at our house. When they were in trouble, having problems at home, or just had to get away, she always let them stay as long as they needed to. And for years, every time I came home from the Marine Corps, she got all those same friends together so I could see everybody and spend time with them. She was the one that made sure everyone got their Christmas lists out on time. She made the best eggnog I ever had. And she made my grandma's mac and cheese whenever we were together. She recently renewed her passport so she could visit my wife and I in Turkey and travel the world with us. She also couldn't wait to visit Machu Picchu with my brother. It was her dream trip. Out of all the places in the world, that was the one place she had to visit before she died. And now the best we can do is lay her ashes there. But Darrell Brooks' conscience is clear. And I believe him. Out of everything he said in this courtroom, I believe that is the one truth he told. I mean, how else could he make a witness look at each of his battered friends that he ran over and ask, how do you know who this is? Throughout her life, Lee Owen was a hard-working woman. That's why when she found herself on hard times, she was able to overcome them. Even though it took years, she dug herself out of a deep financial hole so she could live the life she wanted, the life she deserved. And she was in the middle of doing just that on the evening of November 21st, 2021. And I know this is corny and cliche to say, but Lee Owen wasn't 71 years old. She was 71 years young. She was one of the most active people I knew. She just didn't have it in her to sit still. She always had to be moving or doing something, and this often involved people. She was very social and loved being around those she cared about, and people loved her back. She had a knack for making you feel good about yourself without even trying, because she always found the good in people. Even when it was to her detriment, it never dissuaded her from helping people any way she could. Without judgment, without demand for repayment or feeling she was owed anything. She did it because she knew it was the right thing to do, and it made her feel good. She accepted people for who they were and made people feel good about themselves. That is what the world lost, and you have the audacity to tell this court that your conscience is clear. I'm sorry, Mr. Brooks. There is not a human with a soul on this planet who could snuff that light out, who could steal Lee Owen from this world and have a clear conscience. And that is why you hear the term monster. That is why you hear the term demon. You know, I saw you that day. It was just after you ran over the Catholics. I saw you hanging out of the window, looking back with a smile of satisfaction on your face, laughing at an inside joke that at the time I didn't get, the punchline escaping me. I didn't get it when my mom didn't respond to my texts. I didn't get it when she didn't answer my phone calls. I didn't get it the first couple hours my brother spent looking for her. I didn't get it until my wife sent me a video of you running over children in the parade. That's when I got the punchline. And it hit me like your red SUV, Mr. Brooks. I saw a pure, unrepentant evil in your face that day, and it disgusts me that you are allowed to exist. And I know the answer to the question that everyone keeps asking. I know why you did this. You did this simply because you were not in a cage. That is what I find mind-boggling. And how dare anyone say the system failed him? The system failed every one of us whose only mistake was to bring their families in the vicinity of Mr. Brooks. That poor excuse for a man should not have been on the streets. That is the failure, period. But enough about him, because today is not about him. It's about us and what we lost. I lost my mom, Lee Owen, and I wasn't always a good son. I could be selfish sometimes. I could be mean. But no matter how angry or standoffish I got, she would bend over backwards for me, even when I didn't deserve it. And now I can never tell her I'm sorry. I can never tell her I should have been more grateful. I can never tell her how much I need her in my life. Yeah, shake your head. Shake your head. You know, because that is what you took from me. And there's nothing this court can do that would provide justice in my eyes. So all I ask is that you rot, and you rot slow.
Brooks was removed from the courtroom again for continued disruptions. Day 2, November 16th, 2022. Before the sentence was handed down, Brooks delivered a 2-hour statement. He still denied it was an attack. He claimed it was not planned, plotted, and not an intentional act, despite the zigzag pattern documented by law enforcement and captured on live video. He offered what Judge Doro later described as a non-apology. I want you to know that not only am I sorry for what happened, I'm sorry that you could not see what's truly in my heart. When asked directly what sentence he felt he deserved, he would not answer. Judge Doro stated plainly, I waited for a true apology. I didn't get it. And then the tears came. She said the footage had kept her up at night, that the images played over and over in her head. And then she read the sentence. 6 consecutive life sentences, 1 for each victim, plus 762.5 years for the reckless endangerment counts, and $523,293 in restitution.
Frankly, Mr. Brooks, no one is safe from you. This community can only be safe if you are behind bars for the rest of your life. The actions of Darrell Brooks demand punishment. The community is not safe from your violent and criminal conduct unless you are in custody. You left a path of destruction, chaos, death, injury, confusion, and panic as you drove 7 or so blocks through the Christmas parade, never once stopping or seemingly caring about the wake of carnage that you left. 4 of those blocks were turned into a scene that frankly is no different than a war zone. On counts 1 through 6, this court is imposing a life sentence without the possibility or eligibility for extended supervision consecutive to one another. 1 life sentence for Virginia Sorensen. 1 life sentence for Leanna Owen. 1 life sentence for Tamara Durand. 1 life sentence for Jane Kulik. 1 life sentence for Bill Hospel. And 1 life sentence for Jackson Sparks. I've considered the enhancer and the additional 5 years that I could impose, but I don't need to really order that because I've not made him eligible for extended supervision, and it would only be to increase his time on initial confinement. But make no mistake, Mr. Brooks, you use that vehicle as a battering ram, no different than, frankly, a firearm. On counts 7 through 67, these are 61 counts of first-degree recklessly endangering safety. These charges alone and these convictions without the enhancer carry a maximum of 12 and a half years. Because of the enhancer, a total of 17 and a half years. And under Wisconsin law, the 5 years is added to the initial term of confinement. So what could be 7.5 years is a maximum of 12.5 years. And I'd ask that everyone no longer show any reaction to the sentence so I can get through this. On counts 7 through 67, on each count I will impose a total sentence of 17.5 years. 12.5 years of initial confinement, plus 5 years of extended supervision, consecutive to any other sentence that I've imposed here today. That is 762.5 years of initial confinement and 305 years of extended supervision on top of the life sentences that I've imposed. That is 17.5 years, sir, for Nicole White. 17.5 years for Eleanor Anders. 17.5 years for Sasha Catalan Castillo. 17.5 years for Maura Gilchrist. 17.5 years for Justin Gullickson. 17.5 years for Harry Guilfoy. 17.5 years for Aiden Lofgren. 17.5 years for Theo Maza. 17.5 years for Tyler Pudliner. 17.5 years for Connor Tank. 17.5 years for Eric Teagues. 17.5 years for Adelia Maffioli. 17.5 years for Kelly Graybow. 17.5 years for Josh Craner. 17.5 years for Riley Rogers. 17.5 years for Caden Rogers. 17.5 years for Tucker Sparks. 17.5 years for Isabella Bartlett. 17.5 years for Yaritzi Becerra Montez. 17.5 years for Samantha Coelho. 17.5 years for Madison Hollingsworth. 17.5 years for Mackenzie Hollingsworth. 17.5 years for Mitchell Lampine. 17.5 years for Kathleen Pielmeyer. 17.5 years for Julia Schleichow. 17.5 years for Olivia Stover. 17.5 years for Jennifer Stover. 17.5 years for Jesselyn Torres. 17.5 years for Alice Urell. 17.5 years for Charlotte Urell. 17.5 years for Vivian Urell. 17.5 years for Grayson Urell. 17.5 years for Lola Hospel. 17.5 years for Tamara Rosentreter. 17.5 years for Betty Strang. 17.5 years for Maria Alvarez Dominguez. 17.5 years for Gregoria Romelia Perez. 17.5 years for Elliot Hallmark. 17.5 years for Benjamin Hallmark. 17.5 years for Patrick Heppy. 17.5 years for Lori Locken. 17.5 years for Marisol Lopez Gutierrez. 17.5 years for Adair Lopez Rubelar. 17.5 years for Juan Marquez. 17.5 years for David Marquez. 17.5 years for William Mitchell. 17.5 years for Jason Petchloff. 17.5 years for Margaret Pachulis. 17.5 years for Yamilet Perales Alvarez. 17 and a half years for Aylan Perales Alvarez. 17 and a half years for Ashley Perales Alvarez. 17 and a half years for Jose Perales Alvarez. 17 and a half years for Maria Perez. 17 and a half years for Camila Perez Gonzalez. 17 and a half years for Isaac Foglia. 17 and a half years for Deborah Ramirez. 17 and a half years for Charles Green. 17 and a half years for Lily Green. 17 and a half years for Brinley Harris. 17 and a half years for Kelsey Knapp. 17 and a half years for Owen Briciotti. On counts 68 through 73, which are the 6 counts of hit and run resulting in death, these are 25-year felonies each. The court will do the following. On count 68, a 25-year total sentence, 15 years of initial confinement, 10 years of extended supervision. This will be concurrent to count 1. Count 69, the same sentence, 25 years total, 15 years of initial confinement, 10 years of extended supervision, concurrent to count 2. Did I say that the right way, the first one? Okay. Count 68 is concurrent to count 1. Count 69 is concurrent to count 2. Count 70, 25 years total, 15 years of initial confinement, 10 years of extended supervision, concurrent to count 3. Count 71, 25 years total, 15 years of initial confinement, 10 years of extended supervision, concurrent to count 4. Count 72, 25-year total, 15 years of initial confinement, 10 years of extended supervision, concurrent to count 5. And on count 73, a 25-year total sentence, 15 years of initial confinement, 10 years of extended supervision, concurrent to count 6. On count 74 and 75, the 2 felony counts of bail jumping, the court is ordering a 6-year sentence total on each count, 3 years of initial confinement, 3 years of extended supervision, consecutive to all other counts but concurrent with one another. And lastly, but certainly not least, the maximum sentence for the battery to Erica Patterson, 9 months consecutive to any other sentence. To order anything other than what I have done, sir, would be to unduly depreciate the seriousness of these offenses. It is needed, although largely symbolic, given the number of years that I have imposed here today, because frankly, you deserve it. I know it's symbolic, but it needs to hold you accountable in a very real and tangible way. For all of these sentences that I have imposed, I will order the following conditions: no contact with the victims as identified in the amended victim key or their families, no contact of any kind with Erica Patterson. You are to pay restitution in the amount of $47,193.29 to EMC Insurance Company, that's on behalf of the Waukesha School District, and $124,000, $220.65 to the Crime Victim Compensation Program. I am ordering DNA surcharges on all counts. On counts 1 through 75, it's $250. On count 76, it's $200. Those are mandatory under the law. I'm also imposing the domestic abuse surcharge on count 76 of $100. I'm also imposing all standard court costs on all counts. Although my primary emphasis is that restitution be paid before costs, surcharges, and fees, I will order that restitution, costs, and fees be paid out of prison money. In other words, that all financial obligations shall be collected pursuant to statutory provisions as requested by the state. That's frankly a standard, it's customary, but it will be in the judgment of conviction. And then pursuant to 949.165, I'll find that it is appropriate for this court to order an escrow account under 949.165 for payment of restitution, costs, fees, surcharges, and even for costs associated with prior legal representation or future representation under the statute. Mr. Brooks has been convicted of a number of serious crimes for which this section is appropriate. I will order 360 days credit as to count 1 and count 68. Only, all other counts, 0 days credit because of the consecutive nature of the sentences that I've imposed here today. I calculated that with my sentence calculator. Of course, that is through yesterday because these sentences commence today. There are a number of advisements I must go through. First of all, Mr. Brooks will be provided with a written explanation of determinate life sentence regarding the first-degree intentional homicide charges. Of course, he's not eligible for release to extended supervision. That form defines extended confinement for him, and there's other language on here that he can read at his convenience. He also will be provided with the notice of right to seek post-conviction relief form. The court will fill out the caption for him. He is instructed to review it and review the defendant's acknowledgement, make the appropriate selection, sign and date it, and return that to the court. I must advise you, sir, you have been convicted of a felony. That means you may not vote in any election until your civil rights are restored. You may not possess a firearm. You may not possess body armor. Both of those are punishable as felonies. You also have 20 days from today's date to appeal the decision of this court. Does the state believe I've overlooked anything here today?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
All right, those documents will be provided to Mr. Brooks. I will note for the record, at many times during my final sentencing remarks, he was holding up an objection sign. That objection is noted for the record. This now concludes this hearing and this case. We are now off the record.
The gallery erupted in applause after each name was called, and Darrell Brooks, the man who had mocked the court, denied his own name, treated 6 deaths like an inconvenience, stood at that defense table and broke down, lips folding, deep breaths, tears running down his face. It was over. Jackson Sparks was 8 years old. He was marching with his youth baseball team that afternoon, just a kid, doing exactly what kids are supposed to do on a Sunday. His mother, Sherry, said, "It hurts to breathe sometimes. It hurts to live without him here."
My name is Sherry Sparks. I am Jackson and Tucker's mom. I stand here today with my son Tucker and my husband Aaron. I'm here today to represent my family, but mostly for my boys, who were both struck down by the red SUV on November 21st. I want to give a voice to our son Jackson Sparks. Our family is forever changed. We are hurt, angry, traumatized, and broken.
The 4 dancing grannies who lost their lives had spent years showing up for that community, marching, dancing, bringing people together just for the love of it. Virginia Sorensen's husband said, "I too regret Wisconsin does not have the death penalty, because if someone ever deserved it, the convicted most certainly does." Chris Owens told Brooks directly in open court, "All I ask is you rot, and you rot slow." And here is what makes all of this even harder to sit with. Darrell Brooks had been released on a $1,000 bail just 11 days before that parade for a violent incident involving the same woman he had just run over with his car. He had an active warrant out of Nevada that had gone unresolved for 5 years. The system had every opportunity to stop this before it ever started. 6 people paid for that failure with their lives. 2 men, 2 courtrooms, 2 judges who looked them both in the eye and said, "Not today and not ever again." What these 2 cases tell us is simple. Arrogance is not a defense. Betrayal has a cost. and the people who believe they can walk away from what they've done. Always find out the hard way that justice is more patient than they are. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe now so you don't miss the stories we uncover on this channel. And the next case is one you need to know about. It's a story that shocked everyone who heard it. And once you see what happened, you'll understand why people still talk about it today. You won't want to miss this one. Click the video on your screen now and watch the full story.